Touchdown team!
Welcome to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube. I'm Jason Pugh. We're switching up the order a little bit this week. Maybe switch up the mojo just a bit. Hitting leadoff, starting whatever phrase you want to use. Northwestern State Defensive Coordinator Matt Connor. So, Coach, we'll jump right into Saturday's game against Texas A&M Commerce. And despite the numbers, I thought some really good moments. Again, you're seeing some guys grow up, and I think that's a theme we'll talk about with you, with Coach Joseph, with Coach McCorkle, is you're getting guys who are getting experience really for the first time at the collegiate level, and it's a tough go of it now, but as you look forward, a lot of positives that can come out of something like this.
Yeah, there was. Obviously, some of the negatives are some of the things that you saw that we weren't real happy with. A lot of that is stemmed back from a lot of guys are out there for the first time. A lot of guys are out there on very minimal reps, very minimal experience, but that's where we're at right now. I've said on this show multiple times, we can't do anything in the moment to change it, and so we're going to go to work, put our head down, and Texas A&M Commerce didn't feel sorry for us. Nichols is not going to feel sorry for us, and so we got to, as a coach's staff, we got to do everything in our power to have our guys ready to play when that time comes again. But there was some good. There was some good on the film, and it's very, very encouraging to see some of the younger guys get in there and get that experience.
One of those guys, those younger guys, you talk about Chancellor Owens, I thought had a really, really good game in terms of productivity.
Yeah.
You're down 14-7. He gets a strip sack that puts you in position. You're on the plus. Your offense is on the plus side of the ball to go down and potentially tie the game. And at that point, Ron Peace he'd made a living of dodging plays at that point, but couldn't get around Chancellor. That's kind of indicative of where he's been.
Yeah. It's weird. Chancellor kind of feels like one of the veterans in the group, and he's a redshirt freshman. And so, but he just shows up week in and week out at practice. How you see him play on game day. If you ever come out and watch one of our practices, he practices the same way. I mean, Chancellor's got one speed. It causes him to make some mistakes sometimes, but we can live with that. If he's playing fast and he's being disruptive, which you saw on that play, you can live with a mistake here or there. Really, really proud of what he's done so far this year.
Talking with Coach McCorkle post-game Saturday, it kind of, it made me think. He's talking about all the youth and the freshmen on each side of the ball. Was there a point where you looked up and said, hey, we've got X number of first-year guys out there that it just was like an aha moment?
Yeah, you kind of try not to think about it at the time, but yeah, I mean there was. I mean it's obvious. When you look out there and you stand on the sideline, you look out and you just kind of start counting that guy's on his first or second start. This guy is only played 3 college football games in his career, but again, we just got to get them ready to play, and they are. They're locked in, they're focused, and I appreciate that about them. And we just got to put some experience and some maturity behind it over time.
And one of those things we talked about the youth, and it's not necessarily just youth in terms of class, and redshirt freshmen, true freshmen. We've talked about him several times, but at cornerback, you've got a guy in Caesar McGee who's now on game 4 or 5 as a corner after spending most of his life as a wide receiver. So even your veteran guys are new to what they're doing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The guys that I would consider veterans, you just mentioned it. Caesar's starting his 5th ball game at corner, which we all know he's a great football player, but completely switched positions, so it's new. Cadillac Roan, who's been out recently, you would kind of see him as a veteran guy. He changed positions in the spring. Blake Gotcher, I guess you could consider to be a veteran guy. Playing in a brand new system as a transfer that got here in the spring. So there's some youth even in the mature guys, the older guys, there's still some youth there and some inexperience, but they're working hard.
Blake Gotcher, 17 more tackles, and I think maybe the most interesting thing about him when you get to the numbers, and I don't know how much of a numbers guy you are, he's got 94 tackles through 7 games. That's 11 more than he had in 3 years at Lamar. So given a chance, you see a lot of those guys, given a chance, they're going to make plays. And we've talked about it so much, Johnny Mitchell becomes the unsung part
of what
Blake Gotcher's done.
Yeah, he has. Blake had another good ball game. put a little bit more on Blake this past week with some of the other linebackers out. We put a little bit more mentally on Blake to kind of control the front and get us in the looks that we want to be in. And he handled that okay. And just again another productive play. Another productive game. There's a lot to be said for a football player that just ends the play at the football, and that's kind of what Blake does. A lot of that you look at Cam and Johnny and Chancellor. But at the end of the day, it takes a certain level of ability and knowledge to just end the play at the football. And when you can end the play at the football, all of a sudden you start racking up a bunch of tackles.
Guys, you got a couple of guys back, and it's mid-season. You've played 7 straight weeks now. We were talking about it before we got on air about can you get to the bye week? Can you get through those 2 more weeks? But you're starting to get a couple of guys back. Antonio Hall being one of those, yet another redshirt freshman that gets to come back after being out. So he's kind of getting back, finding his footing a little bit.
He is. I think right now we're kind of in a pattern where we trade one, we get one back, we lose one. We get one back, we lose one. We lose one, we get one back. And so trying to juggle that, especially in the back end, has been a little bit difficult. But the guys have responded, the guys have stepped up well. We did get Antonio back in there, limited this week, but he was in there. You got to also got to understand, behind the scenes, Antonio's a redshirt freshman that hasn't gotten a ton of experience. We also missed half a week, basically 2 weeks of practice. And so a lot of those guys back there are high rep guys. They're guys that really need the practice reps to go out on Saturday and be productive. And, when you get a guy back on Wednesday, you kind of got to jam everything into 2 days to get him ready to play. And when he's a younger guy, it can be hard to do. And so we kind of had a plan this week to get Antonio back in the mix, but not fully, just throw him out there to the wolves. Surely this week he'll be a lot more prepared and ready to go.
Well, you get Nichols, speaking of this week, an 11 a.m. kickoff. Now, I think coaches, if you told them you kick off at 5 a.m., I think you guys would be happy when it comes to that. So 11 a.m., it's got to feel like it's probably tougher on the kids because, in college, no one wants an 8 o'clock class.
Yeah.
May not want an 11 o'clock football game, but that's what you've got this week.
It's probably the toughest on the fans. I'll be honest. I think the night games are awesome, environment, but they're mostly for the fans, a little bit for the players. You're right. We'll be there at 4:45 a.m. if you want to kick off at 6. We're fine with that. Let's get up and play. There's nothing, especially when you're on the road. When you're on the road, you just sit around the hotel all day and a lot of thoughts go through your head. Did we do this? Did we cover this? What if they do this? What if we do that? And it kind of it doesn't allow you to do that. You just got to wake up and get ready to go coach a game or get ready to go play a game. And sometimes that can be the best medicine you need is just, hey, get up, brush your teeth, and let's go play football.
So no paralysis by analysis at 11 o'clock.
None at all.
When you do look at Nichols, what Tim Rebo's done in basically his decade down there, turning that program around has been incredible. You're going to face probably the angriest Nichols team we've seen in a while. They had a tough one at UIW, and when you do draw a team like that, is it one of those things you try to hopefully use the emotion against them, or you hope maybe they're a little one way or the other?
I don't expect them to be anything but ready to play. Coach Rebo and his staff, holistically, they've done an unbelievable job with that program. And I think I can say this because I know Coach will probably mention it later. When we look at where we're at, we look at where they're at. That's kind of that's the model. That's Coach's model, Coach McCorkle's model. He's had the same. He's been there 10 years going on. 10 years. Had the same 2 coordinators all the whole time, and they've been able to just come in there and go to work and do it their way, and build it from the ground up their way. And you can really see that in their team. And they're 2 deep on offense. I think they got 3 guys that aren't juniors or seniors. In their starting offense, they got 3 transfer guys. 2 of the 3 transfers are from local, right there around Nichols. And so, going in, getting guys, turning them into Nichols guys, and making them bleed red, like I guess everyone does, but keeping them there and retaining them and developing them, and then sprinkling the transfers in where you need them. And they've done a great job of that. And
they seem like, even when you get down to the offensive philosophy, what you'll be going against is very seemingly like what Coach McCorkle and you guys did at Belhaven in terms of being almost true pro style, being almost what these days would be a throwback.
Yeah, they are. They're just real physical. I got a lot of respect for their offense, their offensive line. I got a lot of respect for. We've talked about this a lot on the show. I'm an ex-offensive lineman, so my eyes kind of naturally go there when you turn the tape on, and they play the game the way it's meant to be played. They're going to force you to be physical and fight, and if you don't, it's going to be a long night for you. And I've got a lot of respect for that. They got 3 really good running backs. Number 19 being the premier guy, but he gets a lot of the attention. But the other 2 back there can really go as well. And they've got a quarterback that's very, very capable and does a great job of just managing the offense. But it's no secret to what they're trying to do. They're going to line up in big personnel and they're going to come right at you. And they're going to make you stop it. And if they don't, if you don't, they're just going to line up and do it again. And so it ought to be fun. It'd be a big challenge for our front 6, our box. But again, it's not going to be a secret what they do. We just got to get our guys ready to go play and put them in a position to be successful.
I think 19 Colin Guggenheim, has been there maybe since Coach Rebo got there.
Yeah.
He's been down there a long time. Well, Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. Matt Connor will be back with offense coordinator Norman Joseph when the Demon Huddle rolls on, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group. Again, we're kind of inverting things this week, now joined by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Norman Joseph. And Coach, let's get right to it. You had a first-time starting quarterback and Saturday against Texas A&M Commerce, and I don't think you could have asked for much more than what you got from Abram Johnston.
Abram did a great job for us, great leadership on the field, and he was into it all week long, preparing himself and understanding the game plan, understanding what his role was going to be, and I thought he managed the game very well. Rookie coming in, he's watched others on the sideline. He's been on the headsets throughout each ball game that we've had, and I just thought he played an outstanding football game.
Let's talk about, you talked about that, and it's been kind of interesting when the travel rosters have come out, when we've gotten to road games, and you see him going through everything alongside Quatarius, alongside JT, and at that point through 6 games, through 5 games, he got in against Stephen F. at the end. But how does that accelerate his development, just being part of that, being around that for 5-6 weeks?
Yes, excuse me. I think those older guys have helped him as well. He's very outgoing. He's like a sponge. He just soaks everything in that anyone tells him. And so JT and Quatarius both have talked to him and shared their thoughts and visited with him and mentored him in that role. And then on game day, because he's on the headsets and he wears the headsets and gives them to the quarterbacks as they come off the field between series. So he's hearing the plays being called. He's hearing the adjustments that we're making during the game. He's hearing how we are organizing our calls for the next series. And then now he's in that role of, okay, here's what we're going to be doing the next series of plays. And he was ready to perform.
When you come from playing, as you do in high school, to being a true freshman, what's the biggest challenge for guys like that when they have to wait their turn?
The speed of the game. The bottom line is the speed of the game. It's not the volume of the plays or the type of plays that you run, the offense that you're running. It is the speed of game day. We try to simulate it the very best we can in practice, but it's totally different. And so I thought he handled that very well. In the first half, you could see that the speed was may have been a factor in the game for him, but in the second half he settled down, and played lights out.
Was there a moment that you personally saw maybe just the growth, from play to play, drive to drive?
Mm-hmm. I mentioned to him during the week. I said, if the pass plays break down, there's no one open. I said, scramble. I said, that is, you've got wheels, you can move, you can extend a play. I think that's a real strength for quarterbacks to be able to do that. And you look at Patrick Mahomes and several others in the next level, they have done that for years. And so to have a quarterback that can extend a play like Abram does, and he did, was exciting. And we were able to scramble for some first downs, had a couple of completions off of scrambles where he extended the play. So those things took place early in the game. There were some mistakes that he forced, but that comes with being a young quarterback and trying to make a play. But in the second half, he understood better and he played exceptionally well.
Helps when you get some guys to make some plays. Joe Moreland made a great scooping catch there. Amaz Eugene in the fourth quarter, the one-hand tip to himself was incredible. And again, it's kind of like we talked about with Coach Connor, we'll talk about with Coach McCorkle. There's a lot of youth out there. Was there a point where you looked up and went, oh my gosh, we've got X number
eight,
there you go.
Yes,
so you knew exactly where, but when that happens, is it, oh my gosh, we've got 8 freshmen, or oh my gosh, we've got 8 freshmen, and look at this.
And look at the future.
15 games, 20 games down the road.
Yeah, and finish out the year here, and so we've got this. All of a sudden, we looked up and we had 8 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen on the field, and then you throw in another sophomore. So here's 9 players that are extremely young, that are on the field playing for us and playing at a high level, and it is exciting. It's exciting for them, exciting for us as coaches, it's exciting for our program, and we want our older guys to embrace that, see that, and continue playing at a great level and mentor these guys like we talked about earlier in a very positive way, and they're doing that.
We've talked a lot about Zay Davis the last couple of weeks, and the rushing numbers weren't there. A lot of TFLs on the run game, but his impact in the passing game, a couple of those catches, and nearly took one about 70 yards to the house again. But you see it there. You see the big playability, and it wasn't just him. We talked about Amaz Eugene. Twan Hines had a 40-yard catch. It's nice to spread some of that around with the big plays.
Yes, we had including our quarterbacks, we had 13 players that touched the football, and so that keeps a lot of people happy, keeps them involved in the game, helps them prepare each week, knowing that they're going to have some touches in the ball game. And but those guys that you mentioned, Twan has been a steady player for us all year. Joe Moreland coming through and making a catch and a first down catch and keeping a drive going, and that was a key also. That's another point. When you have youth on the field, you just stay on the field, get first downs, keep a drive going. We finally did that in the fourth quarter and did it in a great way. And then you got Amaz that. Just tremendous catches, a one-handed catch, and then he stretches over the goal line for the last touchdown, and he's playing lights out. Real proud of him and his effort and his execution and his the positive energy he's bringing to the offensive unit.
Another guy that's grown up. I talked about it yesterday. He had a drop against Prairie View, and you said it. At some point, he's going to make a play.
He's going to come back, and then to get back to Zay Davis on his abilities. What a great athlete that can run the ball inside, can run it outside. Great hands, outstanding hands, and once again a player that we can get into the secondary, get beyond the line of scrimmage, and see what he can do running in space.
As you get ready for Nichols, it's an 11 o'clock game. We talked with Matt Connor about this. The coaches, he said, if you want to play at 6 o'clock, we'll be here at 4:45 a.m. We can do that. For you, do you like, as an offensive guy, he talked about some paralysis by analysis. If you have a night game, hey, did we check this? Did we check that? Do you like early games? Do you like night games?
Love the early games. Let's go play. Wake up. Let's go play. I mean, you look at this situation that we're about to have. 11 o'clock kickoff. We are on the field. Quarterbacks are on the field an hour and 5 minutes before the kickoff, and so we'll be on the field at 9:55 warming up, and what a great opportunity to go play a great football team.
Speaking of that Nichols team, and one thing that they have had is continuity at the top, and that's got to have filtered throughout with the success they've had since Tim Rebo's been there. Defensively, they're just stout.
They are. Yeah, they are very good. Their defensive front plays hard, extremely hard, and then behind them, they play a 4-2-5. So I was at Northeast Louisiana Monroe when we started the 4-2-5. We were the first team in Louisiana to go to the 4-2-5. The reason we did it was because we had no defensive linemen. Our defensive linemen had got depleted, so we went to the 4 defensive linemen front, 2 linebackers, and we were loaded with defensive backs. Well, Nichols is loaded with all those players up front, linebackers, their secondary. They're loaded all the way across, and they're playing at a high level and very sound, very strong, very good defensive unit.
And they're probably got a little chip on their shoulder after what happened Saturday in San Antonio.
Yes,
so
yes.
Demon luck, you draw a team that's already good, and they're going to be angry too.
Yeah, oh yeah, they'll be very angry, but then they'll be ready, and it should be a great matchup.
Coach, as always, thanks for your time. That's offensive coordinator Norman Joseph. We'll be back with the head Demon, Blaine McCorkle, when we return on the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University. New media, journalism, and communication arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/new media.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube. As we close things out, again, we inverted things, so we're going to save the best for last with head coach Blaine McCorkle. And coach, we'll jump right into this past Saturday's game against Texas A&M Commerce. And one of the things I think we talked about post-game, and we've talked with Coach Connor, we've talked with Coach Joseph about this, there was a lot of youth all over the place, certainly by the time the game ended and throughout for your team. As a coach, at what point does it become, oh no, we've got a lot of youth, and then, oh no, we've got a lot of youth, but we start to look 15, 20 games in the future and see what this could be?
Yeah, I think for the most part, you kind of live in the moment, with what's best for the team to give us the best chance to win in that particular moment. But then when you step back and look at the fact, I think last week we played 14 against Stephen F. Austin, 14 redshirt freshmen in the game. I think we were probably 15 or 16 this week. It was even more. I know it was 8 on offense throughout the course and significant snaps. But when you do step back and look and you kind of watch the film and you look at who got in the game and what they were doing, it is encouraging for the future for sure. It's our job as coaches and as a program to keep those guys here and develop them so that when we look up 8, 10, 12, 15 games in the future, as you mentioned, they're ready to compete at a really high level, and they've learned from the lessons they're learning right now and the opportunities to go in there when they're really just not quite ready. It's you hold your breath a little bit, but it is exciting at the same time. So, the rest of the season, it should look the same way. We'll keep a lot of young guys in there, especially when we kind of get to that 4-game marker at the end where we can probably put a few more of them in there. So don't be surprised if more of them start popping in and out.
Yeah, this kind of becomes, after this game, maybe the line of demarcation where you may feel like it's a trade deadline situation where suddenly you've got a handful more guys you can pull from.
It does, and there's a few guys right now that those conversations actually happen throughout the course of games. On my call sheet, I actually have a little small chart where there's about 4 or 5 freshmen who have played 2 games and 3 games, and that next game really puts them to a different mark. And if we get to that situation in the game, we'll have a good conversation during the timeout. Okay, are we going to do this? What does this do for the rest of the season, and is it the right thing to do at the time? Both for the kid, because you want to do right by the kid. We don't want to do anybody wrong and steal football from them. That's not what we want to do, but we have to put out the best product we can in the moment as well. So there's a lot of conversations that happen when those things happen, and you got to be smart and wise and really think it through. And it is part of it. But I do again say, I think that's one of the best things the NCAA has done is put that 4-game marker in there to give some kids an opportunity.
You almost hope maybe at some point it'll be a true 5-year clock.
That's right.
At that point, if they want to play 1 game or they want to play 55 games in their career, they're free to do so. But when you do look at that, that's another part of a focus. And that's sometimes I don't think when you look at the whole CEO approach of a college football coach, roster management is up there, and especially at this level, it's something that falls, you don't have a GM as we're seeing at other places. It kind of becomes a collaborative effort, in which again falls on you as the head coach.
Yeah, even if you are one of those big places that does have the GM or the player personnel guys and all that, I think at any level, roster management may be one of the single most important jobs that a head coach has, is to know what he has at the moment, what's leaving, when it's leaving, and what's coming in, and keep a good balance there. Like right now, if you look at our defense, I think right now we've got 33, 34 juniors on our roster. Most of those are on the defensive side of the ball. That's a massive imbalance that we've got to balance out here in the next couple of years and figure some things out. So it's a shell game for sure. There's a lot of moving and shaking, and there's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of conversations in the moment, and with the recruiting conversations. That kind of forces you to be heavy on offense sometimes when you're there on defense, but you can't do that. You got to know you're going to have an imbalance for a year, and it'll take a couple of years to get our offensive and defensive roster balanced by year, but that's something we talk about all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure the last few years doing that with COVID and this extra year and that extra year has been even more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, everything that's happened the last few years with things like COVID and all that, I'm trying to find out if I got an extra year. I may go back and get one myself. But it has helped a lot of kids and given kids extended opportunities, and that's never a bad thing.
Well, you look like you can still snap a few and be in good shape.
I'm not as good as I once was, but as Toby Keith said, I might be as good once.
That's right. Hey.
Yeah.
And look, as a deep snapper, as you were, that you just don't want to be known.
That's right. That's right.
You're okay being in the shadows.
Stay in the shadows. That's right.
When you guys, you talked about it, but I think the fourth quarter, the way things played out, again, very youth-laden team, down a big margin. What did that last drive do? The six-play, 92-yard march that ends with a freshman to a freshman, and some of what triggered this was your comment from the Stephen F. game where Logan Brady, true freshman, snapped to J.T. Fayard, redshirt freshman, who threw to Joseph Moreland, redshirt freshman. It didn't work out. There were freshmen all over the place, but again, you had true freshman Abram Johnston, a couple of plays to redshirt freshman Amaz Eugene to move them down there and set things up, and just at that point, that's kind of the dream on it scenario?
Yeah, I think the last two drives of the game were maybe 87 yards and 92 yards for touchdowns. So there's two good drives back to back there, and they're encouraging, and it's easy to sit there and say, well, maybe they had their back ups in or whatever. Maybe they had a couple of them in that wasn't full scale, but they're playing against kids the same age, and they're being successful. And I think there's a lot to that that can give us some confidence and some encouragement moving forward. And now we've got to do that over the course of the game. We still had way too many mistakes through the first three quarters before we kind of settled into those moments that you just can't do. We got two trips into the red zone in the first half where we came away with no points, and those are things that can't happen. We had the interception on one, again, true freshman quarterback trying to make a play right off the bat, and then he scrambled and scores a touchdown, and we have a holding penalty that's very debatable, but that's another conversation. But we very easily could have and should have gone into the halftime 21-21. Reed missed a field goal, which is very uncharacteristic of him. That's his first miss of the year, extra point or field goal. He's had a tremendous year so far, but even with that puts you at 21-10. So we got to capitalize on those opportunities when they come and give ourselves a better chance to win at the end of the game.
And the tough thing for Reed is it follows the touchdown being taken off the board, so it ends up being a double whammy in a sense.
That's right. Yep.
But he's been very steady. He had a good job punting again.
Great
down
job.
To I think 3 inside the 20, maybe 2 inside the 10. So. Again, that's another. We don't really talk about it on here as much because, except for the week that Justin Williamson was here, but those are some hidden plays too. That if you've got a chance, you've pinned them inside a 20 or a 10. That's a momentum shift. That's a field flip for you guys.
Yeah, and the two previous weeks against Stephen F. Austin and who we played before that, SEMO, our two starting field positions, or theirs were like the 39 and the 42. And this week, I forget what our number was, but it was much improved. And a big piece of that is the job that Reed did, punting the ball down there and pinning them back. And there's a lot of hidden yardage in there. And Reed and Scotty Roblo's kicking off now for us, doing a good job. Evan did a good job the first half of the season. And, our Sawyer Benson's getting great operations times to allow Sawyer to get the ball out of there. So those guys are doing a good job, and we're proud of what they do. And they're a big piece of the puzzle.
And the coverage unit doesn't get a lot of credit sometimes, too. I mean, you can make a decent punt, and it becomes even better. And Reed's had a knack for having guys fumble his punts. Spin on there, a little something different.
Maybe so. But our coverage units have done a great job. They had one where as soon as the guy catches it, he gets tackled, at the opposite 45, I think, the other day. And then the first punt of the game set up our first score. And a credit to our whole unit right there. What you teach the guys is when that ball gets muffed, don't go for the ball, go for the returner. He's the only guy that can recover the ball. So they did that exactly like they were coached to. As soon as he muffed it, Landry Huddleston tackled him to allow Ty Moore to be the next guy there to recover it, not trying to get the stat for himself. So it's always encouraging to see the little nuances in the game that you teach come up there that a lot of people probably wouldn't even recognize.
I think I finally put my finger on who Landry Huddleston reminds me of. Did you ever see the movie The Replacements?
A long time ago,
Okay,
yeah.
Daniel Bateman.
It could be.
That's
Could
the
be, yeah.
John Favreau character,
That's right.
the crazy
Yeah.
linebacker.
He
Crazy in a good way.
is one tough nut, and what he's done for our program this year is really impressive. I mean, he's a guy that goes out there and fights as hard as anybody on our team. A little undersized, a little overmatched every time. He doesn't care. He's going to show up and fight, and if they drag him off the field 10 times, he's going to go back 11. You know, I mean, that's just who he is, and a pretty special kid and fun to watch.
Yeah, we saw that. Had his ankle rolled up, I believe, and was right back out there maybe
right. Yeah,
the next series or 2 series later.
He's here to play football, and we need more guys like that.
Well, you've seen some guys grow up. Now you're going to have a very interesting road trip. We've talked with both coaches. I know you're feeling toward morning and
Yeah.
afternoon games. I know you're a big fan of that. First road trip in Louisiana, which is crazy to think that it took till week 8, but you're going to be in the home state. You're going to go down, and you're going to have a very early Saturday morning, leaving your hotel to get to the stadium. Are you interested to see how some of the guys who maybe haven't played an 11 o'clock game react?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's our job as a staff is to get them woke up and going, you know, and we'll do that. And there'll actually be a lot that goes into that, you know, to making sure they're up. And Coach Smelser and our strength staff play a huge role in that with their early morning workout before the game to get them up, get them moving, get the central nervous system firing, if you will. So there's a lot that goes into that. But to be honest with you, as coaches and players, we just soon play at 9 in the morning. I mean, we love an early morning, get up, go play, and then you kind of got the rest of the day to do it. I know the fans may not agree, but sorry. But I'm excited about 11 a.m. kickoff. I'm excited about being in our state, excited about another conference game. You were playing the defending conference champ, who's a really, really good football team, and should be a good day. Should be beautiful weather down there. And they are the standard right now. You know, they've built that thing at Nichols exactly how we've kind of put the stamp on how we're going to build it here. They're doing it with Louisiana kids, limited transfers. The transfers they have are the right ones. You know, they've got maybe 20, 22 transfers, I think I counted on their roster this morning. And what they are is they're local transfers, just like we did with the guys like John Barr, the guys like Caleb Billup, the guys like Cam George. They're local products who want to get back home, and they're not coming from the Power 5, they're coming from the Group of 5 because they have a little bit different mindset, you know, and that's kind of what Nichols has done. But the majority of their team is high school kids that they've grown and developed. You know, I don't think they have their entire defense is juniors and seniors except for one redshirt sophomore. He's been in the program for 3 years, and the offense looks very the same. You know, there's 1 or 2 transfers on offense, but again, they're guys who've come back home. And Coach Rebo has done it exactly the way we want to do it, and I have nothing but respect for Nicholls State and Coach Rebo and how they do it. If I wasn't in this conference, I'd be a Nicholls State fan because it's really impressive what they did over the course of his 10 years to get that program where it is. And when he went there, they were a very similar situation to where we are. They were on some really, really hard times. I think at one time there, they had the longest losing streak in the country, maybe twice. And he's come in there and built a consistent winner just by being patient, steady, believing in what he wants to do, and bringing in the right kids and not compromising. So they are a lesson for us to learn from, and they're the standard.
Yeah, we've really, you know, in our position and my position, been here 10, 11 years now. It's great to be able to get to know the opposing coaches. You find some you really like, you find some you deal with.
Yep. And some you don't like.
I wasn't going to say
Just
that.
call it what it is.
I've got to play down the middle.
Yeah,
but,
we're here to win, Jason.
but,
Just call it like it is.
you know,
We don't like some of them.
But Timmy Rebo is
awesome.
He has been one of my favorites since coming in this conference. I know he and Coach Laird were very close friends, and kind of got to know him through Coach Laird. But he, Frank Selfo, those guys who have been around, you get to know them, and it's really, you get to feel a bit of the fraternity, not quite as the same level as you guys, because I know you guys talk and hang out quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I'm still the new guy to the group, you know, in year 1. And, you know, he's been there for 10 years. I think Frank's been at Southeastern for 7. So they're kind of the deans of the league and just good guys. And I've mentioned before that every time we've had a conference meeting, me as the new guy, I try to find a way to sit at the table where those 2 guys are and just listen and just kind of take in some of that knowledge, some of that wisdom, because we're all trying to learn. And those 2 guys have done it as well as anybody in this conference for a long, long time. And if anybody doesn't like Tim Rebo, you got something wrong with you. I mean, he's just a good, classy man, and like I said, just a lot of respect for him and his program. So I'll be excited to go down there and try to beat him on Saturday. As much as I like him, I'm going to try to beat him. So that's what we signed up to do, and that's part of the fun of being in a great conference like the Southland.
Well, how has your first trip around? I mean, it's only been 2 games so far, but I mean, you hadn't until 2 weeks ago. You hadn't coached against a Southland Conference team, so kind of finding your way.
Oh yeah, it's what I expect it to be. It's a great level football, FCS football special, and any FCS conference in this part of the country is going to be competitive, and it's going to be intense, and it's going to be great competition. So I've enjoyed every minute of it. We just got to get some wins on the scoreboard, and I'll enjoy it even more.
Well, next chance to do that comes 11 a.m. on Saturday down in Thibodaux. We'll go down the bayou, as they like to say, there in home of Thibodaux. Blaine McCorkle, thank you for your time. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group. We'll see you next week right here on YouTube.